Hey, this is Mark Canty with Release Dynamics, and I'm here today with Ashli Komaryk of Komaryk Communications. And Ashli is our expert today in the winery field. Welcome, Ashli.
Thank you, Mark.
And what we want to talk about today is winery tasting rooms. We know that from a business standpoint, we're into the new year now. All the wineries are getting geared up and ready for a great season. And one of the most important and critical elements of their winery is their wine tasting room. So Ashli is our expert today that's going to talk to us about, and I'd like to interview and ask her a few questions about wine tasting rooms and how to maximize your sales, how to get the most out of your staff. And I'm going to begin by asking you one simple question. And you've traveled, I know you've been to wineries throughout North America and even in Europe, and you've lived extensively in Italy, and I know that you spent some time recently in the Okanagan this past year. So I'd like to ask you, when you go into wine tasting rooms, what's one of the things that you noticed, probably the number one thing that you observe to be a challenge or an issue or something that you think is preventing wineries from getting the most out of their wine tasting rooms?
Well, Mark, the number one issue that I see that is holding wineries back from really maximizing their sales is the people skills, connecting with the visitors. That's the number one problem that I've seen, that I've actually also heard from winery owners and managers as well, directly seeing it themselves, that their people just, they know about the wines that they're pouring. Technically they're solid, but it's the building the relationships that is where they really need some improvement.
Excellent. I can empathize, and I've experienced that myself too. Can you give us, I know I've had my own personal experience, but can you illustrate that point by maybe giving us some examples that you've personally observed?
Oh, happily, yes. We were touring in the wine country last year actually, and last season we walked into a winery, were warmly greeted by a gentleman who asked us about our day, about our travels, and we talked with him not about wine right away, and just he was interested in knowing us and where we were from, and we of course got to know him and about his family and about the winery's history, which was very interesting and fascinating to us. And then we got to doing the tasting, and when he explained that, one wine was named after his father's hometown back in Italy, and why they chose to plant this grape rather than that grape, and we really felt like we were a part of it. We were a part of the history of the winery, and we absolutely could not have left that winery without buying, one of those wines, one of those wines, one of those wines, actually a couple of each of those wines. So we walked out of there with a considerable purchase. At the next stop, instead, the experience was rather different. I don't know if the lady that was working there was not having a great day or what the issue was, but she was just very matter of fact, and gave us the tasting room menu. Here are the prices. This is how it works. You're not allowed to have food here, and let me know when you want to start. And okay, well, that's pretty matter of fact. Got the information, did the tasting. The wines were actually excellent, but the welcome was less than warm and not very welcoming, frankly. So what happened there was we did the tasting and we appreciated the quality of the wines, absolutely. And the winery was beautiful, as so many of them are. And but we definitely did not feel a need to bring those wines home and make them part of our lives into the future, or go back to that winery, as beautiful as it was. So that really illustrated to me the importance of that human connection, and
Yes.
building rapport, building the relationship with your guests.
So true. So summing this up, we don't have a lot of time today. I just wanted to ask you, Ashli, when you think about that issue, the lack of people skills and the experience that you just shared, and thank you for sharing that. It really brought the whole idea to life. what are some takeaways that you would give winery owners and managers who are watching this video in terms of what they could do to improve upon that, and how they could maybe tackle this next year to ensure that this upcoming season, in fact, is one of their best ever, and that their wine tasting room is profitable and sells the most amount of wine that they possibly can?
Thanks for that great question, Mark. I've been giving this a lot of thought, in fact, and I think that the first thing to do is in the interview and the selection process, really look for not just wine knowledge and the ability to learn the information and data, but look for those personality skills, those people skills, the ability to communicate. During the interview process, invite the candidate to tell a story, to explain how they feel about the wine and why they want to work at your winery. That would be my first tip. And secondly, invest in your people. Give them some sales training. Give them some customer service training. It's an investment that will pay back dividends richly in terms of increasing your direct-to-consumer sales. And winery owners know very well that direct-to-consumer sales are hugely important to the bottom line of the winery. So investing in that sales training for your people is the best thing that you could do to guarantee greater success in this new season. And then the third tip that I'd love to offer is to revisit, once you've done the sales training, revisit that training and invite your team to debrief together at the end of a day or at the end of a week together. Share the experiences, share the solutions they found. How did they get through challenging visitors? What strategies did they use? So they can continue learning from each other and putting into practice those skills that they'll have learned in the training.
Excellent. Those are such great points, because after all, a winery is in business, and business means they have to be making sales and be profitable if they're going to employ people and if they're going to stay in business. So it's so true, and I so appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. Is that we have to have purpose in the tasting room, and the purpose is not to hand out free samples or paid samples or whatever, but in fact to have people loving our wine and leaving with not only bottles but cases of wine. So I think those are all great points. Ashli, I'm certain after our conversation today there'll be winery owners and managers and people that want to speak to you, and that would like to get some more tips from you. How can they get in touch? How can somebody have a conversation with you to get some more ideas, some more information about what you do and how you might be able to help them?
Absolutely, yeah. Super happy to talk to winery owners and managers about their challenges and to talk about strategies. No obligation, of course. My company is Komaryk Communications, and I've got a website and phone number that is going to appear somewhere around the frame of this video. So please do click or send me a message, reach out directly, and let's have a chat about how I can help make this year your best year yet at the winery.
Excellent. Thanks again, Ashli. Appreciate you being here today for this session, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you. And we will sign off for now and say so long. Be sure to get in touch with Ashli. As you can tell, she's a lovely individual and a real professional who's going to help you get the most out of your wine tasting room.
Thanks, Mark.